Theology. In this concluding section, we'll consider pastoral theology. How is the faith to be handed on? When you're communicating with someone, you need to know the person you're communicating with, how they think, how they feel, what their attitudes are. So very important for pastoral theology is understanding the human condition. And in modern times, tremendous advances have been made in understanding our human condition. Psychological advances, sociological advances, advances in art, films, novels, literature, poetry. The human condition is now far better understood than any previous period. And so pastoral theology has to relate to those resources, those insights, and find a way to communicate with contemporary people, to hand on the faith. We're called to be bearers of the faith, communicators of the faith, and pastoral theology takes up that challenge. A very important insight for me I found in sino, a French Dominican writer who had a big influence of Vatican II, and one of the writers of the Constitution of the Church in the Modern World. The opening passage is so inspiring, were from his pen. Sino says it's very important for us Christians to recognize the difference between faith and religion. Now many people don't distinguish them. We talk about religious education, don't we? We don't say faith education. Now, Sino said these two human responses, human experiences, are very different. And it's important to recognize the difference. He said religion is widespread in the human family. We don't have a monopoly on religion. Many of the other great cultures are filled with religious practices and attitudes. Sino says the dynamism of religion is from the creature to God. Worship, cult, ritual, sacrifice, all these things are an attempt by the human race to do honour to God and to relate to God by their self-expression. The Christian faith that we interpret in our theology, and if you reflect on what we've said, it's very clear, has a completely opposite dynamism. It begins from God's initiative. God has intervened. God has revealed. God has given the awareness of faith. It's God who's calling his people forward. And if we don't make that distinction, well, and religion can swamp faith. All our practices become so important that we miss the point of what they're about. So I think that's a very important issue for us in our pastoral work as teachers, as pastors, guides, to recognize the difference between the two. And to recognize while religion's not bad, like in some cases those who recognize this will act against religion. Christ didn't want any religion. That's nonsense. Christ was a faithful Jew. He does not destroy religion or do away with religion, but he brought the fullness of faith. Even for the Jewish people, faith was more important than religion. The prophets, time and again, said, your sacrifices are empty if there's no real relation to God. So that's a very important distinction to make, and I've given you a reference in my Christian Message in the Secular Age to that explanation of it from Sino. So pastoral theology uses all the insights that will help us to understand the human condition. The human condition of cultures that have to evangelize, missiology. The whole work of discussing how we bring to the great cultures of the world that have really not known anything except a Western style of Christianity, our way of expressing our Christian faith, there must be a wonderful discovery to be found when we relate the Christian faith in all its purity and power to their cultures and their needs and their outlooks. That's the work of missiology. Then we have catechetics and evangelization. Here's a whole field, a very challenging field for us, as we realise how many of our people are falling away from the practice of faith, partly because religion dominated and faith wasn't inculcated effectively. Then there are psychological resources. In the pastoral care of individuals, it's important to have insight into human nature and how human nature responds to difficulties, the needs of human nature, how to reconcile human nature, how to heal human nature, how to affirm human nature, how to relate human nature to the ongoing gift of God in faith and our Christian religion. Well, this has been a long coverage, this section. I want to bring up for you, as clear as I could in the limited time I had, how rich the field of theology is. You'll find your interest in one or the other of these fields, in one or the other of the great authors that write in theology. There's a tremendous field to be explored there. But remember what I said in the beginning. Take to this study the enthusiasm, the wonder that you have derived from knowing the mystery of revelation and God's great initiative on our behalf.